Okay, Rick, that was absolutely amazing as always. Whether it's live watching you on stage or whether it's watching you virtually, it's the same feeling. It's amazing. That was
Yeah,
a
but I don't know for you, Ken, but I miss the stage, you know.
well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Well, I do.
Yeah.
What's the oh? You've got a friend I see in your
I've
set.
got a friend. Yeah, you're going to ask me questions. So this is my Mr. Owl, and he
Okay,
knows all the answers. So if I run out of answers, he's going to help me.
you just need to
Yeah.
hover your hand over it and just
Yeah.
interpret
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
the vibe. We all need to know. I mean, listen, great to chat, and thanks for taking the time again today. I know everyone watching, whether it's live or on demand, that presentation was amazing. I've taken so many notes. We're going to
Jeez.
be we're going to
Okay.
be
Yeah. Now
chatting.
going to
We're
give
going to
me a
be
rough time.
I am going to give you a
Yeah.
rough time, yeah. I mean, one of the things I loved about there's a great number of metaphors you've used in the presentation. One of my favorite is this idea of us all doing the same thing again and again and again. I think some of it's human nature. I mean, it is, let's face it, the success of the human species is that, small step, small step, small step, and the progress we've made in
Really.
10,000
That. Yeah.
years. So
The,
it's in us.
you refer. Yeah, you're referring to the beach channel, and you're absolutely right. That had
Absolutely.
we've needed that to survive.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by that because on one hand we're saying that's not the way to succeed in business, and I agree with you. Let's get into that debate. But of course, we as humans are hardwired to do just that, to repeat the same things again and again. Because if you ate the berries off the bush yesterday and you didn't die, then they're the safe berries to eat again. And that's why routine. I know physiologically that lizard brain, that basal
Absolutely.
ganglia,
Yeah.
coordinates so much of our lives. So then we suddenly find ourselves as a CEO or as a C-level executive, and you're trying to actually deprogram that safe behavior, safety and security, that bottom layer of Maslow's hierarchy. And so let's do the same thing again and again and again. Oh, you've got competitors. Okay, well, maybe I'll do a little bit better. But then your metaphor is fantastic. The wave's coming, and it doesn't really matter that your head is down doing all those beach chairs because, there's change coming. Question for you. What happens when the wave strikes? Because here we are right now. So I want to bring it down from a strategic conversation to an actual tactical one for the people watching this right now. What do you do when the wave has struck and the chairs are all floating around the beach and you're so busy now trying to grab the chairs? That's all you're trying to do. You're trying to keep your business. Any suggestions to what happens when the chaos strikes?
Okay, you're referring to the actual situation, of course, because we were hit by a tsunami that none of us had ever seen. Let's give a name. It's COVID-19. It's Corona. We were hit by it, and okay, we are in the middle of this chaos. It's complete chaos for the moment. What I urge all companies to do is to not freeze the dinosaur, to not freeze your company. Do not think, okay, you know what? This is chaos all over the place. Let's do nothing. And let's just freeze what we had. Let's hide. And when all this chaos is over, let's return to the beach and continue what we were doing before we were hit by that tsunami. And I think that's a bad idea because the meteorite that struck planet Earth didn't kill the dinosaurs. It changed the environment. And because the environment changed, the dinosaurs got extinct because they were not adapted to the new environment. So when something bad like COVID-19 hits planet Earth, this is going to change your business environment. So if you just freeze your company to defreeze it when it's over, and when you think we can return to the good old normal, I can give you bad news. The good old normal will no longer be there. So if there ever was an opportunity to change your business and to make your business future proof, this is right here and right now. There's never been a better moment to really look at your business and to rethink your business and to make it ready for the day after COVID-19. I've always heard business managers to complain about, yeah, but we don't have the time. It's so difficult to ground our plane or to rebuild our plane when it's in the air. But we can't ground our plane because we need to run a business. Most planes are being grounded more or less for the moment. So there's never been a better moment to rebuild the plane. It's on the ground. So
Okay.
they grab the opportunity. It's the
Yeah.
biggest opportunity ever.
Okay, but then that requires a management team to enjoy chaos, you know.
Yeah.
And so, and I think chaos by its very nature we are terrified of,
Yeah.
And certainly in business, if you look at the getting away from the anthropology of the human being, but the structures we've made in business, the way we run businesses, the silos, the layers of responsibility, the hierarchies. I mean, that's one of the problems why technological disruption sideswiped many people, because they weren't agile enough just structurally.
Yeah.
So how then would you have any ideas if you were starting or advising, as you do, sure, you advise so many businesses all over the world, how do we prepare businesses for chaos? How do we teach chaos? How do we get people to be comfortable with chaos, embrace chaos, even lean into chaos? Because it's counterintuitive.
Yeah, one of my favorite books for the moment is not. It's from the same author. We all know Nassim Taleb now because of Black Swan. We were hit by a black swan, but that other book that he's written, Anti-Fragile, is way more important right here, right now. What he says is there are three ways how a company can deal with unexpected events. The first of all is being a fragile company. Something unexpected happens and you fall apart. No company wants to be like that. But the mistake that most companies have made, and you were absolutely right when you described it, is by building robust companies, by trying to control the chaos out there, and to try to control the chaos out there by process and procedures and KPIs and balanced scorecards and all that stuff. And that's good. But when something really unexpected happens, even robust companies break. So he refers to anti-fragile companies, companies that kind of love chaos and grow stronger by chaos. Now, how do you do that? One of the advices I give all companies is create chaos monkeys in your organization. Create chaos, not real chaos, but have chaos monkey days or chaos monkey weeks in which you try to break your company like crazy, not in a real way, but in a virtual way, and try to think, oh, if this would really happen, how would I cope with it and get ready? Just try to imagine that this is really happening, what the chaos monkeys come up with. They're trying to break your company, they're trying to destroy your company, they're trying to disrupt your company, but it's all virtual. But take it seriously and learn from it. That is one of the biggest advices I can give companies. I know a couple of companies that were ready for this. They had created it in some way or another. They had this scenario somewhere in a drawer. The only thing they needed to do was open up the drawer, take out the scenario, and build the scenario for real this time.
Yeah. I mean, I love that idea of planning for chaos. One of the problems I have, I think, with the way we recruit talent, and we can drift into a conversation here about diversity. I mean, you can, like the chaos monkey, trying to train. So do you recruit the chaos monkey in the first place, for instance?
Yeah. Yeah.
So like when we recruit talent, we tend to recruit from the same pool. We tend to recruit from the same ideological pool. We tend to all come out, whether it's an MBA from Harvard or London Business School or where you teach yourself, we're cookie cuttering the talent. And unsurprisingly, they tend to then think the same ways. And their version of chaos will be a very limited version of chaos. So should we not maybe be recruiting talent into our organizations that is completely, outside of our usual field to inherit that sense of chaos?
Yeah. I usually, when I do workshops, I ask companies, just imagine that Elon Musk, 18 years old, would knock on your door and say, I want to work for you. Will you hire him? Chances are close to zero. But even if you would say yes, and he would be in your company for, let's say, 2 weeks, would he still want to work for your company after 2 weeks? And even if the answer is yes, yes. So he would say, I want to work for your company. Would you allow Elon Musk to change the whole business from within your company? The answer is no, no, no. So there is no war for talent. There is war for kind of mediocrity in business. One of the biggest mistakes, and you were referring to it, is that most companies want to hire somebody, and the first thing they do is try to see whether he or she fits the culture of the company. But then you create a monoculture. You create all kinds of people that are the same. So by definition, you will not have any chaos monkeys within your organization, because a chaos monkey by definition doesn't fit the culture of the company, because once you fit the culture of the company, you can no longer look upon the company, you look from within the company. So you need people that are able to look upon the company from within the company, which is looks like a paradox, but it's not.
Yeah, I can imagine everyone watching is thinking, great, when next time my boss asks me for that presentation, I'm just going to say, sorry, I'm the chaos monkey. You don't
Yeah,
get
the
it.
chaos monkey. Yeah, but you need them. You need your pirates in your organization.
We do, we do. There's a question here in from someone watching live, which is obviously a very expected question considering the audience. In terms of your freezing the dinosaur and your point about changing environments, what should the DIY industry do right now in terms of the changing environment? I mean, so right now, and I understand if, again, we can get very strategic here and have philosophical debates. What do you do? I guess it's back to the floating beach chairs. What should someone in the DIY industry do right now to get a grip on, or even the short term, the next 12 months, next 24 months? What would you say? Like, here's the top few things you should be thinking
If
about.
I were a DIY, I would focus on two things. First of all, I would really try to understand what Homo sapiens stands for. Online merges with offline, offline merges with online. Start to think, to no longer think in two worlds. There's an offline and an online world, the clicks and the bricks. Stop doing that. For the consumers, it has become one solid world. Offline has merged with online. So if you develop an interface for your customers, don't try to think, oh, this is a click interface and this is a brick interface. Try to imagine one interface that is a merging of bricks and clicks. That is one of the big opportunities that guys like you that have bricks have. But you need to merge it with the clicks. That's the first. The second is, whatever interface you make for your customers, try to make it a feast. Try to make it fast. Try to make it as easy as you can. Try to make it as accessible as you can, as simple as you can, and make it tempting. And one of the things to make it tempting is engage your customers, is to involve your customers. Now, for you guys, that's easy because you are in the do it yourself. By definition, the fact that you sell products for people to do something themselves is involving your customers. And when you involve your customers, then you engage customers by definition. And engaged customers, I can tell you, are an army of sales and marketing in your and for your organization. So focus on OMO and focus on feasting the interface, and be aware that you have a tremendous product. Do it yourself. Engage, involve your customer.
And actually, that's a great answer, because you said that in your presentation, this idea, and I really agree with you. So many companies, we focus on growth, new customers, new customer acquisition, new markets, new channels, new products, new services. And of course, the OMO point is that you do need to look at new channels, you do need to look at other ways of working. But the thing that a lot of companies do seem to ignore is this huge number of existing customers they have. And really, it's 7 shades of broken when you are so focused on elsewhere as opposed to looking at what you have.
Exactly.
So that tribal belonging. I know Harley Davidson talk about the hundreds and thousands of sales reps they have on the road every day.
Yeah.
Because everyone with a bike, between their legs is a Harley Davidson sales rep.
Yeah, every customer in yourself, every customer can be part of your sales and marketing organization if you play it clever.
Yeah, and that goes back to your formula about connecting to many, but engaging with the individual. So engaging. So let's talk about data, because there's no way you can engage the individual without having, pretty impressive data systems.
Yeah.
So any comments on what your opinion is from the outside, even on the DIY industry, on the state of the data? Do you see anyone using the data very well? Any good examples, or just in general, what you think, to bring that network that you spoke about to life in terms of, the data running up and down that arm? Where are we at the moment in the world of that? And any tips what people should be doing?
I think if I look at it yourself, but retail in general, I think that retail in general should be really aware how data rich they are. I think that every retailer can be a startup with a plus, a super startup. Startups do know technology. startups do know how to deal with data. They have one huge problem in most of the cases. They don't have enough interactions with customers to collect data. You guys do it yourself. You have thousands, maybe 10,000, maybe 100,000 of interactions on a daily basis. Every interaction is a set of data. Every day that you do not use that set of data times 10,000 times 100,000 is a day lost. And let's call it stupid. That's not clever. If we, and I think we all agree, data is a new gold. Data is a new oil. But we have the opportunity to create our future money. But start doing that. So the first thing that you need to do right here, right now, is to go back and to start think, okay, how do I collect as much data as I can? Where do I store them? And just trust technology on that. Trust cloud-based technology. It's not even that expensive. And are there good examples? Absolutely. I know retailers that have been starting to do that like 3, 4, 5 years ago. And now they have so much data that they can be so clever about how to engage their existing customers, but also future customers and the customers of their direct competitors, that they outrun competition. And right now, this is the opportunity for them to outrun competition, because now that everything goes digital, way more than ever before, you can use that power of knowing your customer and being able to connect to many customers and engage them on an individual level way more than like 5, 6, 7 months ago. But it's not too late. Start doing it.
I think you're right, and I think there's the idea of the data silo sitting there being unused is scary. But of course, if you have all the data there, you can just action it. The question though is, for me, I'm fascinated by this expression, "Data is the new oil." It's been around for so long, but really, you can't do much with oil. You have to refine it.
You have to refine it, yeah, absolutely.
And the question is, I think that's where the weak spot is. That we're actually, some retailers are good at collecting it, and it's just all sitting there in barrels, and nobody is really putting the creativity layer on top of that data to say, well, here's what we could do with this. And that does require an element of genius along the line at some point,
Yeah.
And so I want to talk about creativity, because I think, it's a huge area, but it goes along with the chaos monkey piece. So how do we get, so you mentioned Tesla, you mentioned Elon Musk in the presentation. Steve Jobs had a famous, and so sometimes there's a contrasting, I feel there's a contrasting piece between putting the customer at the center, building everything on the customer, and then Steve Jobs' famous quote about the customer doesn't know what they want until I tell them what they need.
Yeah.
And so somewhere in that space, in between that space, is the answer maybe, because Elon Musk's creativity, Steve Jobs' creativity, their eye on a technological solution to a problem that no one even thought they had. There is that jump that needs to happen at times for someone to creatively use the data, use the trends, and get to somewhere where a consumer never even knew they wanted to go. And that sometimes clashes with this idea of customer at the center, because your hotel room idea, your driving hotel room, a consumer probably in a focus group isn't going to say, do you know what I'd love? I'd love a driving hotel room. But we can
never.
So, never. What's your opinion on creativity in corporate, in the corporate structures we built?
First of all, I think that the answer in between, is it Steve Jobs or is it the other Steve Jobs? Is it, let's start from the customer, but at the same time the customer doesn't know what he wants? I think don't think in solutions. Start to really think in, what is the original problem? What is the original problem? Look at that automotive example, that mobility example. What is the original problem? I want to travel from A to B as fast, as easy, and as simple as I can. It's as simple as that. That is my original problem. We have fallen in love with the solution, and we've forgotten about the original problem. I call that the Kodak moment. Kodak fell in love with the solution and no longer focused on the original problem. That's what's on the T-shirt of Yuri Levin, is the founder of Waze. And on his T-shirt is, do not fall in love with the problem, fall in love with the, do not fall in love with the solution, fall in love with the problem. So that's the fast. Fall in love with the problem. And then creativity is no more and no less than taking existing building blocks and do something clever with those building blocks. So it's about the building blocks, and it's about being able to decompose the building blocks, decompose the solution, and look at what building blocks do I have and how can I recompose the building blocks to create a better solution for the same problem. And don't do it just a little bit better, because then you're only in incremental changes, but try to do it 10x better. Do it the San Francisco way. Look at the original problem and how can I, with the existing building blocks that I have, but with the new technology forces that are available, do something for that same customer to solve the same problem, to create a new solution that's just 10 times better than the original solution. And what is 10 times better? How can I make it simpler? How can I make it faster? How can I make it more accessible? How can I make it more tempting than the original? That's what Uber has done. That's what Airbnb has done. I think that even in retail, we still have the opportunity to create something like that.
Absolutely.
Not start from what is the existing solution and how can we improve that, but what was the original problem that we were trying to solve? And how can we do that? How can we solve that original problem 10 times better?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, if you look at another aspect of retail, take grocery retail. It's one of my favorite examples. If you look at the model that we have, which is basically a supermarket aisle structure that's a mirror of the warehouse. It was just a mirror of what was behind the wall.
Yeah.
And that made it easy for us to put the boxes on the shelves. If you ask an average customer, what's the problem? Well, they need to feed their family for the week. They need breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacking solutions. But what we ask them to do is we ask them to hold 5 days of breakfast, lunch, snacking, and dinner solutions in their head as they walk around this space. And we've laid it out by, ambient, frozen, chilled, non-food, but they have to remember what they're having for dinner on Monday, and they need this here and that there. And it's so broken compared to, the subscription model of where you go online, I like these recipes, click, 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 it all comes to my home. And so you look at how does that model even fit for that Gen Z alpha generation beneath? It's just so broken.
What I love about do-it-yourself, it's not just about convenience. Do-it-yourself has got a very large portion of emotion involved in that as well. Look at the gear around you. Look at all that stuff. But there's an emotion involved in that. Yeah. And the very moment you have an emotion on top of the convenience, you have something very valuable that you can use to really engage your customers.
Yes.
And so if you think about that in do-it-yourself, I think that do-it-yourself can really reinvent themselves. But it's not, let's try to improve the existing script, but let's try to write a new type of script. Still the same problem, still the same customers, still the same customer needs, but let's rewrite the script, how to solve that customer need in a completely different way, using everything that we know, everything that we've learned, and all the data that we've been collecting. I think something amazing can happen.
I think the data is really important, because I know from my own personal experience, if I go to a DIY store, I've probably never gone to a DIY store and bought just the items I intended to buy. You'll always come out with something else.
Yeah.
And that will not happen on a digital platform. On a digital platform, I probably will just buy the thing I intended to buy. And that's a huge problem. But yet, if you collect enough data on me and you know what I'm doing in my life and you can actually make that work really well, but you need the data engine to do it. So that creativity there needs to be done.
And I'm gifted by two left hands, but nevertheless, I like to walk in and do it yourself. I like to buy that gear, and I like to try to at least do something myself at home. And that's not just for convenience reasons. It's an emotion. It is a natural emotion. Use that, please.
Yeah, I would agree. And actually, one of my frustrations with retail also is we know how this works. We know how to trigger human emotion. I mean, advertising is the best example. We use all that Freud stuff that we know about. We use lust and desire, and we know how to reflect things back at consumers to make them desire our product.
Yeah.
But yet in a physical store, or indeed a digital store, we abandon all that good psychology and understanding that we have of the human mind. The moment a foot comes in the door, all we use is price and display. Those are the levers.
Yeah.
And really, when you think about, as you've said, the power of emotion and why people are there and what their dreams are and their hopes are and their desire for a better home and a working environment or garden or whatever it is, there is very little, even the basics, imagery, aspirational stuff in the store that can be very functional places. And I think that they are missing a trick.
Yeah, but it's the curiosity, and I'm writing a new book on curiosity. But curiosity is such a nice emotion, but a basic emotion for people. And part of curiosity is the ability of being curious, the ability of being somewhere and being struck by something that you didn't know that you didn't know,
Yes.
to be able to explore. Now, online has got a huge advantage. Online is very structured. It's very easy. It's very convenient. You can find within a couple of clicks exactly what you want. But we miss the serendipity. We miss the being able to explore stuff. At the same time, when you're in a brick environment, you can explore, but you as well, your mind is used to, and whatever I want to find, I can find it very easily. And it's the combination of those two that for me is part of the solution. How do you combine that convenience, the online convenience, with the offline serendipity of being able to explore stuff and being able to be emotional? If we could combine those two, you're very close to the solution.
Okay, yeah. We have a question here from James. Wants to know any the business model change. So any particular example Rick has of business model pivots during the pandemic. So are you familiar with anyone in your own, all the customers you deal with? Are you consulting with, or any experience you've had in the last 6 or 8 months watching a company manage the pivot or manage the offline
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah, I've been consulting a couple of companies throughout the pandemic. A company in retail, and I'm also helping out a bank and an insurance company. You see, what the first thing that you saw is that companies started to really realize that they have to go for online meets offline and offline meets online. That is that one of the things was already discussing, how can we bring the online convenience in an offline environment, and how can we bring the offline emotion into an online environment. Is that business model innovation? No, but it's a very necessary element in rethinking your business. Are there examples of companies out there that are changing their business model? Absolutely. And then I'm talking about companies that are thinking about, where do we make our money? Do we make our money in selling products, or do we make our money in make our products available for usage and ask money for the usage of our products? And another company that I know is making money out of creating a community. That is, we no longer, how can we create a community and involve people and make money on top of that community? I can't go into detail how they do it because I signed an NDA, but I can tell you that they're pretty successful by doing that. So there are examples out there of companies that are bringing that online and offline closer together, and companies that, because of that, are creating new type of business models. And I think that, again, in do-it-yourself, there is an opportunity for creating new types of business models. If you think about community, where there's emotion, there's always the possibility of creating a community, creating a tribe. And the very moment you can create a tribe, there's always money in there as well.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean,
Yeah.
if you have emotion and community as values in an industry, and you're lucky enough to have those, you have to definitely take advantage of them.
Yeah.
I'm aware of time, and I want to bring this session in under an hour, because I know if I'm looking at stuff on demand, if it's over an hour, I think, oh, I'm not going to watch that. So let's bring it in under the hour. Last question to you is a very broad one. So philosophically, we are where we are. Nobody knows the future. That's why we call it disruption. But if you had your own personal opinion to bring in terms of the changes that we're going to see in life, even in your own life, or in our work lives, in our personal lives, in our social norms, what do you think this pandemic will change? Or do you think we're stupid enough, because you used the word stupid earlier on, are we stupid enough to go right back on the hamster wheel when this thing's finished and all of us do the same thing?
No, I think that, and you already see it happening, the biggest change that we're going to see is that we're going to say goodbye to all things global and to all things very linear. we have realized that global value chains, global supply chains are vulnerable, are not good for people and planet. And people have grown to get more and more aware of their impact on planet and the impact of companies on planet. And we're going to see all things linear and global being replaced by local ecosystems. It'll be connecting the dots on a local, on a more local level. It'll be good for people and planet, and it will be smart. That is data driven. I think that local ecosystems will be the new normal after COVID-19. It's not, I mean, it's not a door that we close and we say goodbye to the old normal, and it's not a door that we open and all of a sudden after COVID-19, it's all about smart ecosystems. But I think that the old normal is going to die and the new normal is on the verge of being born.
Okay.
Smart
Yeah.
local ecosystems.
And I think from a personal point of view, I would certainly welcome local, a more focus on local and small. I've always believed in that small is beautiful model.
And it's also building communities. If you're in do-it-yourself, you can build local communities.
Yeah. And I suppose the challenge anyone watching who has large business is a bit like you said, connect to many, but engage the individual. It's the same thing. It's yes, your business size and structure may be large, but that doesn't mean you can't leverage local, leverage community, leverage the beauty of small. So that's the trick. Rick, Vera, it's been a pleasure as always. It is. We could speak for hours and hours and hours, and maybe we will someday and put it on the platform.
Yes, someday. Yeah,
someday. Thank you. We look forward to your new book as always.
Thank you very much, man.
Yeah. Would you like to promote before we drop off? Would you like to promote your current book before we close off?
My current book. My current book is Managers the Day After Tomorrow. So if you don't want to know what the forces are that have changed the universe in between 2020 to 2000 and now, that's the book to read. Managers the Day After Tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Rick. And by the way, anyone who's watching, log on to Rick Vera's social media and his own website. He's got a fantastic long reads there as well. I was watching them beforehand.
Yeah.
Reading a few before.
And if you want to know everything about retail, Ken is your man.
Right, self-promoting, we're pimping each other. Rick, listen, have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us, and it's always a pleasure. To everyone watching, thank you for watching again, and for those of you watching live and for the questions, really appreciate that. If you're watching on demand, thank you for logging in, and please look at the network, the Global DIY Network. There's so much content here in terms of webinars, and we'll keep them coming every single month. You'll have a thought leader webinar, and also you've got all the CEO interviews that John Herbert's doing. So look at the agenda, take the time now, go on the platform, have a look, have a chat to some of your peers. The message boards are there, and have a look at some of the other sessions that might be worth your while catching up on if you've missed them. So until next time, until December, I'm Ken Hughes. Thank you very much. See ya.
Bye, thanks.